Mon frère congolais, mon cher ami voisin, il n'y a pas de haine possible entre nous. Pensons profondément à ce qui nous unit avant d'être emportés par ce qui nous divise. Au-delà de nos différences, nous sommes des frères de sang. Au-delà de nos différences, nous sommes des êtres humains. Venez tous les Rwandais, venez tous les Congolais, pays de l'Afrique, pays de l'Amérique, l'Europe et l'Asie. Venez tous nous joindre, mettons-nous ensemble pour chanter la paix. Mettons-nous ensemble pour chanter la paix, la paix. Que Dieu nous demande la paix, le souffle du monde.
Greetings, greetings, greetings to all of you who are listening to us. Greetings to all Rwandans in and outside Rwanda. Sincere greetings indeed to those who are chatting maybe with us. Greetings to our neighboring countries, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Burundians, Tanzanians, Kenyans, or Africans, and those who are on the other continents. My name is Prudence Kantengwa. I'm the Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Rwandan People's Government in Exile, GREX in abbreviation. And the Rwandan People's Government in Exile is led by His Excellency President Padri Thomas Nahimana. And as we start this broadcast, we do ask the Lord God to bless us, to bless all of you, and we praise God that He has given us this time to be with you, to come to the air, and may the Holy Spirit take over this broadcast today. I'd like to just say a few words about the court cases that have been going on in France. The trial of Dr. Charles Onana and the trial of Dr. Eugene Rwamucyo. The case of Charles Onana was tried in the week of October 7 to 11th this year, 2024, and the judgment is supposed to be to be decided on December 9th. Yes, on December 9th. Dr. Charles Onana is accused of allegedly negating genocide through a book he wrote on French military operation known as Operation Turquoise, which served to prevent the Rwandan Patriotic Front, the RPF Inkotanyi, led by Major General Paul Kagame, who later became Rwandan president. So the military operation helped actually to prevent the Biden rebel group, the RPF Inkotanyi, from killing Rwandan refugees, or rather Rwandan who were displaced and lived in a refugee camp in the southwestern part of Rwanda in the summer of 1994. So Dr. Charles Onana said that his book, which he wrote with a Tutsi, actually, who escaped genocide, and is now rotting actually in prison in Rwanda. So Dr. Onana was very clear in showing how genocide was committed. we will comment on the case of Dr. Charles Onana in the days to come. But today we will focus on the matter of Dr. Eugene Rwamucyo. Yeah, the case of Eugene Rwamucyo started at the beginning of October and lasted actually for a month. Yeah, it was decided on the night of October 30th at 2024. Dr. Rwamucyo was accused of several crimes with 8 counts, if I'm not mistaken. So he was acquitted on those crimes, including crimes of committing genocide, and only convicted of one count of agreement. They called it that it was an agreement with the aim of committing genocide by burying the bodies. From this one count, Dr. Rwamucyo was sentenced to 27 years in prison and has 10 days to appeal the decision. I will not go into details in this case, but I just wanted to show how, to our viewers, how the current regime has continued to suppress the truth about its responsibility of planning genocide and executing its plans, exterminating Rwandans, especially those of Hutu tribes or Hutu tribe or Hutu groups, using Tutsis who lived in Rwanda as a shield. Unfortunately, the execution of that genocide is still going on. So Dr. Rwamucyo wrote a book in which he exposed the preparation of the genocide of Rwandans, Tutsis and Hutus by the RPF Inkotanyi, led by the current Major General Paul Kagame, with proof of evidence, which Dr. Rwamucyo showed, and those pieces of evidence included documents and reports from the United Nations and from reputable organizations and entities. So the book written by Dr. Rwamucyo is entitled "The Big Tactic." And I would encourage you to look for it. It's a very interesting book. It's written in French. So this book, Dr. Rwamucyo exposes how the element of the RPF Inkotanyi, mostly Tutsis, descendants of the Tutsi elites from the monarchy class, who refused to acknowledge the republic and the independence of 1962, refusing to be led by the Hutus who used to be their slaves. So that's how the Hutus won the elections, which abolished the monarchy and chose the republic instead. So the Tutsi at the time in the 1960s refused to acknowledge the independence, refused to be led by the ethnic group Hutus, which was a majority. That was about 80% of the population. Tutsis were 14% of the population. And there was also another ethnic group, the Batwa, which was 1% of Rwandan population. So the elite class of Tutsis in 1960s and or in 1950s and the 1960s chose to fight the Young Republic. So from 1963 to 1968, they fought. They fought against the First Republic, which was led by His Excellency the late Gregoire Kambanda. No, sorry. It's Gregory Kayibanda, not Kambanda. I'm so sorry. I apologize for that. The first president, or rather the second president, because the first president was Mbonyumutwa, His Excellency Mbonyumutwa, and he who led the country for a year, and then was replaced by His Excellency President Gregory Kayibanda. So when this elite group of Tutsis, when they could not prevail against the young republic, they left. They left the war and planned to come back to take over later on. So they trained or left as a legacy to their descendants, their children, to come back and take over take over power. So of course, these children they went and regrouped and attacked Rwanda from the country base of Uganda on the 1st of October 1990. So in April 1994, these descendants of former elite Tutsis who ruled under the monarchy by oppressing, by the way, the other ethnic groups, I mentioned the Hutus and the Batwa, they succeeded in their evil plans of assassinating two African presidents, Major General Juvenal Habyarimana of Rwanda and President Cyprien Ntaryamira of Burundi, with their respective entourage. So, following these assassinations was the killing of Tutsis and Hutus who were in Rwanda. These Tutsis who had attacked Rwanda from Uganda had formed a military political group called Rwandan Patriotic Front, the RPF Inkotanyi. So according to one of their leaders, I think is Dr. Tito Rutaremara, the RPF Inkotanyi had infiltrated political parties that were inside Rwanda and had put in people whose objective were to also kill Tutsis, so that the international community can qualify those killings as a genocide against Tutsis and blame the Hutu ethnic group. So that the RPF achieved that. So they attended they achieved their objectives and took over power in July 1994 through the war. So Dr. Rwamucyo, with the help of another Rwandan who was also Tutsi, who escaped the genocide, wrote a book exposing all the plans of the RPF Inkotanyi, the plans that helped the Inkotanyi to kill Tutsis and Hutus and blame the Hutus. That book, as I mentioned above, The Big Tactic. So in 1994, Dr. Rwamucyo, who was a medical doctor, was in charge of hygiene department at the hospital in Butare province, which is now called Huye. And his job, as his job required it, he made sure that bodies that were rotting on the street were picked up and buried. So some of the staff of the Red Cross, who were also picking up bodies, the bodies that were left on the street and or in the open fields, said that some of those bodies were being actually eaten by dogs. So the right thing to do was to pick those bodies up and bury them, not only for hygiene purposes, but also for honoring those remains. Because of burying those bodies that were exposed in the open, on the street, and then in the field, Dr. Rwamucyo was accused of allegedly agreeing with the aim of committing genocide by burying those bodies. Which is really, which is a shame. those even, I mean, that court that agreed to take the case. But anyway, the interesting thing was that the main witness who was presented by the prosecutors and those asking for indemnification was the driver, or the driver of the vehicle that was used in transporting those bodies that were taken to be buried. So the driver by the name of Emmanuel Birasa was brought from Rwanda by Rwandan team to testify against Dr. Eugene Rwamucyo. When time came for Mr. Birasa to testify against Dr. Eugene Rwamucyo, he asked the court to ask people in the audience to leave the courtroom, because he said that he was about to say what was very dangerous to his life. The court complied and allowed only parties and their attorneys to remain in the courtroom. Mr. Birasa then told the court that all he had said about Dr. Eugene Rwamucyo were pure fabrications, lies. He stated that he had testified in so many other cases, but that it was all lies because Rwandan leadership had forced him to do so. So he turned and looked at Dr. Rwamucyo in the audience and asked him to forgive him because of the lies he said about him. Mr. Birasa turned to the court and said that he asked for asylum because if he returned to Rwanda, he will be killed. So that's Mr. Emmanuel Birasa, who was their key witness. So as said above, it must be underlined that Dr. Rwamucyo was a medical doctor and actually had studied abroad. And in 1994, he worked at that hospital mentioned above in the hygiene department. As it was his job then his job description, he used that vehicle driven by Mr. Emmanuel Birasa to pick up bodies that were decomposing on the street and in the open and took them to be buried. So now that the person who was their key witness denied that Dr. Rwamucyo did not kill anyone, did not participate in any genocide, because as he had said before, that he was forced to lie. You would think that Dr. Rwamucyo would be acquitted. He was to be acquitted. He should be acquitted. He is an innocent person. So he was doing his job by picking up decomposed bodies to be buried. But according to the RPF, those bodies were to be left alone, probably so that they can find find those the bones to go and expose in a museum, making it as a business for people to come and see those remains. And yet, it is the RPF that had planned the genocide against Rwandans. Instead of acquitting Dr. Eugene Rwamucyo, the court qualified those facts of burying people for hygiene purposes as an agreement with the aim of committing genocide by burying the bodies. And the judges went further to condemn Dr. Rwamucyo of this crime and sentenced him to 27 years in prison. I understand that Dr. Rwamucyo is now 68 years old. So which means he will be, if he were to serve the 27 years, He will be about 92, 92 years old. So all that, the regime in Rwanda wants, it is to, to kill, I would say to kill his life, or to have his life be meaningless, because he would spend his whole life in prison, since he has already spent I was told about 10 years dealing with this case. So it is a shame. It is a shame of justice in the developed countries such as France. We remind our viewers that following the genocide of Rwandans in 1994, the United Nations set up Arusha International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, which also known as the ICTR, which was to try cases for both sides against the government of President Major General Juvenal Habyarimana, but also the leadership of RPF in Kotanyi for crimes committed since January 1994 to December 31st, 1994. But even though the United Nations, through their orders or ordinances 955, 955, 977, and 1165, you can look them up and see. United Nations had decided that the ICTR was going to try both sides in the conflict, meaning that the government of President Juvenal Habyarimana and the RPF leaders were to be tried. However, only one side was tried. The side of the government of President Juvenal Habyarimana. They tried 61 persons, and among those 61, I believe 14 persons were acquitted. However, the court that I said, the Arusha International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda did not find, among that one side, did not find any planification of genocide with this side. But the other side, the side of the RPF in Kotanyi, was not tried up to this day. And this, we can infer that since we're talking about genocide, the United Nations talked about genocide, so genocide was planned. Therefore, since it was not planned, the court did not find that it was planned by the government of President Juvenal Habyarimana. Therefore, it was planned by the RPF in Kotanyi, who took over by force in 1994. And their leaders, even now, they have been saying how they were killing machines, how the Major General Paul Kagame had told them that wherever they passed, they had to kill everything that was breathing. Those words were said by the retired division general James Kabarebe. He said that in 2022, I believe, when he was addressing university students. He said that that's what their leader told them, and to them, that became like a law. So they came, exterminating Rwandans, and yet no one of the RPF in Kotanyi has been tried up to this point. Instead, they're the ones who have been going around accusing Rwandans those who were in the leadership of Rwanda before 1994 from top to bottom. They tried them in the Gacaca courts. They put everyone in prisons. And of course, many of those were killed by the RPF. So now Dr. Rwamucyo, who did a research, an investigation, and put his conclusion in a book entitled The Big Tactic, in which he showed how the RPF planned the genocide while in exile in Uganda with convincing, irrefutable proof of evidence. He is the one who is being tried and dragged before courts and now condemned to 27 years in prison. It is indeed, it is for this reason that he has actually been accused. By the way, has been accused by a couple, Dafros and her husband, Gautier, who are proxies to go after Hutus who were educated, who had escaped RPF yokes. Because the ones who remained in Rwanda, they were put in jail or where they died, and a few of them are still rotting there. So Mr. Gautier, actually, who is a French national, nationality of origin, he testified that Kagame gave him the Rwandan citizenship. But anyway, Mr. Gautier testified that when he was being given an award, he was given an award by President Kagame. He said that when he was being given an award by President Paul Kagame, that Kagame told him that now that he is his friend, that Kagame was asking him to do for him what he could not do, what Kagame could not do for himself in France. And Mr. Gautier also testified that Kagame gave him the citizenship, the Rwandan citizenship. In his testimony, he also said that the organization that he founded together with his wife, Dafroza, who is a Rwandese, Rwandan Tutsi, understand that her parents were killed during the 1994 in that genocide. So he testified that the organization that they're using to try Dr. Rwamucyo was funded by Rwanda. And he added that the case of Rwamucyo was going to cost at least 2 million euros. You can imagine that amount that is being wasted on lawyers, on that case, because again, the prosecutor's team was composed of 30 attorneys and 750 civil parties that were asking for indemnification, while Rwandans, Rwanda does not even have money to pay teachers, to pay the personnel in Rwanda. While children are dying of malnutrition. And here, the regime in Rwanda is wasting money pursuing innocent Rwandans who have sought refuge in exile. So Gautier also testified that he saw the first time Dr. Rwamucyo at a conference when Dr. Rwamucyo spoke and contradicted what Mr. Gautier had said in that conference. So Dr. Rwamucyo stated that from that time, he made an investigation against Dr. Rwamucyo, and that's why Dr. Rwamucyo is now brought before the court. He said, Mr. Gautier said that had not Dr. Rwamucyo contradicted him during that conference, that Dr. Rwamucyo would not be before that French court. Was this a revenge? Well, you can, conclude about this yourself. Anyway, it has been more than 30 years since Rwanda has been deprived. Rwandans have been deprived of justice. But time is coming when those who are oppressed, the Rwandans who are being oppressed, those who are oppressing them would have to answer for their actions, their crimes against innocent Rwandans. The justice of God is coming and will not tarry. To all Rwandans, victims of the injustice and other abuses, atrocities committed by the current regime in Rwanda, I would urge you not to give up, but to hold on to hope, for there is light at the end of the tunnel. It is not over until God says it is over. His Excellency President Padri Thomas Nahimana has launched a $1 million campaign, money to be raised in order to help in applying ways of liberating Rwandans. We call upon the well-wishers interested in seeing Rwandans be freed from the yoke of a tyrannical regime of Paul Kagame. We're calling you, all of you, who have the heart to help see Rwandans breathe again justice and peace and liberty, to support President Padri Thomas Nahimana in his endeavor to find solutions to Rwandan crisis. We call upon the international community to stop from supporting a tyrannical regime that has been oppressing people since they took power by force through weapons in July 1994. I thank you all. Shalom.